Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we dissect the cryptic language of corporate filings, and today we've got a real gem from Foxx Development Holdings, Incorporated, a company that seems to be playing a bit of a shell game with its shareholders, or maybe just really good at hiding its tracks. Let's dive into their latest proxy statement and see what is really going on behind the scenes. Scroll Foxx Development Holdings, Inc. Burai 15,375 Barranca Parkway C106, Burai Irvine, California 92,618 Burai Notice of 2025 Annual Meeting of Stockholders. Sue Scroll. So this document is basically an invitation to their annual shareholder meeting, but it's packed with information that tells us a lot about how the company is run, who is in charge, and what they plan to do next. Think of it as a shareholder's cheat sheet, but we're here to decode it for you. They're holding their 2025 annual meeting on the 22nd of December 2025, and you can attend in person or virtually. Now, the big items on the agenda are electing new directors, approving their accounting firm, and a pretty interesting amendment to their foundational document, their Certificate of Incorporation. About changing their core rules is where it gets juicy. If you own stock on the 28th of November 2025, you get a say. And they mention they have about 6.9 million shares out there, but here is where it gets a little murky. The document has blanks for the exact number of shareholders. That is a bit odd, right? It makes you wonder what they're trying to obscure. Let's talk about the people running the show. They're electing 5 directors. Now, here is a key detail. They have cumulative voting for directors. This means if you own a lot of shares, you can pile all your votes onto one or a few candidates. It is a way for major shareholders to really influence who sits on the board. For the most part, directors are just elected if they get the most votes, so even one vote can make a difference if the race is close. We have some new faces nominated to the board. Miss Michelle J. Shen is stepping in to replace Miss Ava Yixing Miao. They've given us a rundown of their backgrounds. Joy Yihua, the chairwoman and CFO, has a solid finance background with experience from investment management to hedge funds and private equity. Haitao Kui, an executive vice president, seems to be the operational guy. Then Therese John Chang, who has quite the resume, having served as the state treasurer and state controller of California. That's some serious government finance experience. And Edmund R. Miller, an independent director with a long history in private equity and investment banking. Looking at Miss Yihua, she's been at the helm as chairwoman and CFO since September 2024. Before that, she was involved with Aiki Sei and has experience in investment management and real estate. She's also the CEO of BitBay Technology Corporation, focusing on data centers. Her background is deeply rooted in finance and investment. Mr. Kui has been with the company since 2018 and has been instrumental in sales development. He seems to be the go-to person for the company's operational side. Ms. Shen is coming in with over 2 decades of financial management experience, notably working for Philips in various finance roles across different regions. Her expertise is in financial operations and business partnering, which will be valuable. Mr. Miller brings a wealth of experience in private equity, fundraising, and the TMT sector. He has been a senior managing director at Pan American Finance, LLC since 2012, and previously held significant roles at Goldman Sachs and managed a high-yield fund. He's clearly got the financial and investment chops. Mr. Chang is a powerhouse when it comes to public and private company governance. His role as state treasurer of California means he managed vast sums of money and was a major issuer of municipal bonds. He was also state controller, overseeing the state's finances. His experience in public service and finance is extensive and likely adds a layer of public trust and regulatory understanding to the board. Now, let's look at the executive officers. Greg Foley, the CEO, has a background in sales and marketing for tech companies, including Inseego and HTC, has all about driving growth. James Liao, the CTO, has a strong technical background with experience at Nokia and Charter Communications. He's got the innovation and product strategy covered. Here is an interesting legal matter. There was a class action lawsuit filed in Delaware alleging that the company's original charter, which essentially cleared directors and officers of any responsibility for pursuing business opportunities that could have benefited the company, was too broad. They ended up settling this by amending their charter to limit this waiver. It seems like they are trying to close loopholes and reduce potential conflicts of interest for their non-employee directors. This amendment is now up for a shareholder vote. It is a move towards greater accountability, but it also suggests there were issues that needed addressing in the first place. There is a minor hiccup here about a delayed filing from Mr. John Chang when he was appointed as a director. These are usually just administrative delays, nothing to lose sleep over, but it is worth noting for completeness. Scroll beneficial ownership BRE common stockers. Scroll now for the interesting part, who actually owns the company. The table shows Joy Yihua, the CFO and chairwoman, has a significant stake, along with Acri Capital Sponsor LLC, which she controls. Then we have BR Investment Corp and New Bay Capital Limited as major shareholders. I notice the percentages here. Miswa is a huge player. And then there are these entities with significant stakes too. It's good to see major shareholders who are actively involved, but it is always important to understand their motivations. The company is emphasizing its adherence to NASDAQ listing standards and corporate governance rules. With a majority of independent directors, they've got an audit committee, a compensation committee, and a nominating and governance committee, all staffed by independent members. This demonstrates a commitment to transparency and good governance practices, which is always a good sign. The audit committee has a critical role in overseeing the company's financial reporting. They're responsible for appointing and reviewing the independent auditors, approving audit and non-audit services, and monitoring the financial reporting process. This is standard practice for public companies, and it is a crucial function for ensuring financial integrity. Speaking of auditors, they are asking shareholders to ratify the appointment of CB's CPAs PC as their independent registered public accounting firm for the fiscal year ending the 30th of June 2026. The fees for auditing services were around $425,000 in 2025 and $545,000 in 2024. This is a pretty standard procedure, and the audit committee has pre-approved these services. It looks like they're sticking with the same firm. This is the big one we touched on earlier. They are proposing an amendment to their certificate of incorporation related to the corporate opportunity doctrine. Essentially, they're refining the rules about when directors and officers can pursue business opportunities that might also be of interest to the company. The new amendment limits this waiver to excluded opportunities, and specifically for non-employee directors. This is a move towards greater clarity and accountability, and it's important for shareholders to understand the implications of this change. The company explains that this amendment is in response to a class action lawsuit, which alleged the previous waiver was too broad. To avoid litigation costs and distractions, they decided to amend the charter. This sounds like a reasonable step to resolve a legal issue and prevent future problems. Scroll form of Certificate of Amendment Brewery to Brewery, the amended and restated Certificate of Incorporation. Scroll Annex B shows the actual language of the amendment. It is a bit dense, but the core idea is to only allow non-employee directors to pursue certain opportunities in consumer electronics, mobile networks, communications, or connectivity technology if those opportunities are not first presented to them in their director capacity. This is a significant detail about how potential conflicts of interest are being managed. When we look at executive compensation, Greg Foley, the CEO, received a salary of $275,000 in 2025, and Haitao Kui, an executive VP, got $300,000. Joy Yihua, the CFO and chairwoman, also took home a good salary. These figures seem reasonable for the roles they hold, especially considering the company's stage. It is worth noting the salaries are in US dollars. Independent directors like Edmund R. Miller and John Chang received compensation for their service. Mr. Miller and Ms. Miao each got $75,000 in 2025, while Mr. Chang received about $58,000, likely because he joined later in the year. This is pretty standard pay for board members. They also have an equity incentive plan, which is a way to align the interests of employees and executives with those of the shareholders. A total of about 1.4 million shares of common stock are authorized for issuance under this plan. This is a common tool for motivating management. So, what is the takeaway here? Foxx Development Holdings Incorporated seems to be making some strategic moves. The proposed charter amendment is a significant step towards clarifying director responsibilities and potentially mitigating future legal disputes. The board composition looks strong with experienced individuals, and the executive compensation seems in line with industry standards for a company of this size. However, the initial broad waiver of corporate opportunities did raise a red flag, and while the amendment addresses this, it is a reminder that good governance requires constant attention. The lack of specific details on the number of shareholders in the voting section is a minor but noticeable omission that makes you pause. Overall, Foxx Development Holdings Incorporated appears to be navigating its corporate governance and strategic direction with a focus on resolving past issues and strengthening its board. The key will be how effectively they execute on their business strategy and continue to build shareholder value. Alright, that is our breakdown of Foxx Development Holdings Incorporated's latest proxy filing. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Do you think the charter amendment is enough to instill more confidence in the board's actions? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives into corporate documents. Don't forget to check out the Discord community linked in the description below for more discussions and insights. Thanks for watching. See you next time.